Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went there? Or struggled to remember someone's name just seconds after meeting them?
You're not alone. Memory problems happen to everyone. But what if we told you that there are simple, science backed ways to improve your memory and make forgetting things a thing of the past?
That's exactly what we're talking about today. Welcome to 6 Minute English, where we bring you fun and practical ways to improve your everyday life while learning English.
And today, we're diving into the fascinating world of memory, how it works, what's damaging it, and most importantly, how to make it stronger.
But before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us bring you more great content.
And you don't need a perfect memory to follow along. Just stay with us until the end, and we promise you'll leave with practical tips to remember things better.
So, let's get started by understanding how memory actually works. Before we jump into tips on improving memory, let's start with the basics. How does memory actually work?
Great question. Think of your memory like a giant library. Every experience, fact, or name you learn is like a book that gets stored on a shelf.
That sounds simple enough. But if my brain is a library, why do I sometimes forget where I put my books?
Well, the problem isn't storing information, it's retrieving it. Your brain has three main types of memory: sensory memory, short term memory, and long term memory.
All right, break it down for me.
Okay, sensory memory is super fast, like a camera flash. It lasts just a second or two, long enough for your brain to decide if something is worth remembering.
So, when I hear a new name at a party, that's sensory memory?
Exactly. But if you focus on that name, it moves to short term memory, which lasts for about 20 to 30 seconds.
Oh no. So, if I don't do something with that name, it disappears?
Pretty much. Unless you actively try to store it in long term memory, where it can stay for days, months, or even years.
So, the secret to remembering things long term is what? Repeating them?
Exactly. Repetition and association help move information to long term memory. That's why students take notes, and why you remember your favorite songs but not random facts from years ago.
Got it. But what if we're doing things that actually make it harder to remember?
Great question. Up next, we'll talk about the three biggest mistakes that could be hurting your memory.
All right, Emma. Now that we understand how memory works, let's talk about something just as important. What's making our memory worse?
Exactly. Many people think they just have a bad memory, but in reality, they might be doing things that make it harder for their brain to remember.
Uh oh. I feel like I'm guilty of this. What's the first mistake?
Mistake number one: not getting enough sleep.
Oh no, I knew it. But why does sleep matter so much for memory?
When you sleep, your brain organizes everything you learned during the day. Think of it like saving your files on a computer. If you don't sleep well, your brain doesn't have time to properly store your memories.
That explains why I can never remember what I studied late at night.
Exactly. Studies show that people who get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep perform much better on memory tests.
All right, I'll work on that. What's the second mistake?
Mistake number two: multitasking too much.
Wait, I thought being good at multitasking was a skill.
It might seem that way, but actually, your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. When you switch between tasks, your brain has to keep reloading information, which makes it harder to store things in long term memory.
So, trying to study while checking my phone, probably not a great idea.
Not at all. If you want to remember more, try focusing on just one thing at a time. This helps your brain store information more effectively.
All right, I'll stop scrolling while I work. What's the last mistake?
Mistake number three: not reviewing information.
Wait, you mean just reading something once isn't enough?
Not at all. Your brain needs repetition to move information from short term to long term memory. That's why students who review their notes multiple times remember way more than those who only read once.
So, instead of cramming before a test, I should review things over time?
Exactly. A technique called spaced repetition helps you remember things better by reviewing them at set intervals, like 1 day later, 1 week later, and so on.
That makes so much sense. So, to sum up, get enough sleep, stop multitasking, and review things regularly.
That's right. Now that we know what not to do, let's move on to the best ways to actually boost your memory.
All right, Emma. Now that we know what's hurting our memory, let's talk about solutions. What are the best ways to actually improve it?
There are so many techniques, but let's focus on four powerful methods that are backed by science.
Sounds great. What's the first one?
Method number one: association. Connect new information to something familiar.
Okay, that sounds fancy, but how does it work?
It's simple. Your brain remembers things better when they're linked to something you already know. Let's say you meet someone named Lily. Imagine a giant lily flower on their head. The next time you see them, your brain will recall the image and help you remember their name.
That's genius. So instead of just trying to memorize names or facts, I should create mental connections?
Exactly. The more creative, the better. Now, let's move on to the second method.
I'm ready.
Method number 2, the loci method. Build a memory palace.
A memory palace? That sounds like something out of a Sherlock Holmes movie.
It does, but it's actually a real technique. The idea is to visualize a place you know well, like your house, and place information in different rooms. Later, when you need to recall something, you just walk through your memory palace and find the information where you left it.
Wow. So if I need to remember my grocery list, I can imagine eggs on my couch, milk in my fridge, and bread on my bed?
Exactly. This method has been used for centuries by memory champions.
Okay, I need to try that. What's the next method?
Method number 3, spaced repetition. Review information over time.
Oh, we talked about this earlier. Instead of cramming, I should review information multiple times.
Yes, studies show that reviewing information after one day, then a few days later, then a week later, helps strengthen your memory.
So instead of reading something once, I should spread out my reviews?
Exactly. Flashcards are great for this because they help you review things at set intervals.
All right, I'm loving these techniques. What's the last one?
Method number 4, write it down. The power of handwriting.
Wait, you mean actual handwriting, not typing?
That's right. Writing things by hand helps your brain process and store information better. That's why students who take handwritten notes tend to remember things more easily than those who type everything.
That makes sense. Writing forces you to slow down and focus.
Exactly. So, to sum up, use association, create a memory palace, practice spaced repetition, and write things down.
These are amazing tips. All right, Emma, we've covered some powerful memory techniques. But what about daily habits? Are there things we can do every day to keep our brain in top shape?
Absolutely. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you take care of it, the stronger it gets. Let's talk about 4 daily habits that can boost your memory.
Great. What's the first one?
Habit number 1, exercise regularly.
Wait, exercise? I thought we were talking about memory, not fitness.
I know it sounds unrelated, but exercise actually increases blood flow to the brain, which helps with focus and memory. Even just a 20-minute walk can make a big difference.
So, moving my body helps my brain too? That's a win-win.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about the next habit.
I'm ready.
Habit number 2, get enough sleep.
This one again. We already know sleep is important for memory.
Yes, but it's worth repeating. When you sleep, your brain organizes and stores information. If you don't get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, your memory suffers.
All right, I'll make sure to get more sleep. What's next?
Habit number 3, eat brain-boosting foods.
Okay, now I'm interested. What foods help with memory?
Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids like salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds are great for the brain. Also, berries, dark chocolate, and green leafy vegetables help protect brain cells and improve memory.
So, if I snack on walnuts and blueberries, my brain will thank me?
Exactly. Now, let's talk about the final habit.
I'm guessing it's something I should be doing, but probably don't.
Habit number 4, practice mindfulness and reduce stress.
Oh, so like meditation?
Yes, meditation, deep breathing, and even taking short breaks during the day help reduce stress, which is one of the biggest enemies of memory.
That makes sense. When I'm stressed, I can barely focus, let alone remember things.
Exactly. A relaxed brain learns and remembers much better.
All right, so let's recap. Exercise, sleep well, eat brain-boosting foods, and practice mindfulness.
That's right. Now, let's wrap things up with a final challenge for our listeners.
Wow, Emma, I feel like I've learned so much today. I had no idea there were so many ways to boost memory.
Same here. Let's do a quick recap of everything we covered today.
All right, first, we learned how memory works, from sensory memory to short-term and long-term memory.
Then, we talked about 3 common mistakes that hurt memory: not getting enough sleep, multitasking too much, and failing to review information.
After that, we learned 4 powerful memory techniques, using association, the memory palace, spaced repetition, and handwriting to boost learning.
And finally, we covered 4 daily habits that can strengthen your brain: exercise, quality sleep, brain-boosting foods, and mindfulness.
That's a lot of great advice. But now we want to hear from you.
That's right. Here's our challenge for you. Try at least one of the memory techniques we talked about today, and tell us in the comments which one works best for you.
And while you're here, Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fun and practical English lessons.
That's it for today's episode of 6 Minute English. Keep learning, keep practicing, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.